Picture this. You could use Claude Code for free. Claude Code can cost a lot, and if you run out of credits, it can halt you dead in your tracks. So in this video, I'll show you exactly how to use Claude Code's agentic framework for free. So you can create without limits and access all the amazing Claude features without needing a supercomputer with RAM. And even if you've never coded before, and if you don't know who I am, I'm Jack Roberts. I launched and watched my final tech startup reach more than 60,000 customers, and now I run a profitable AI automation business. So if you haven't already, grab your coffee and let's dive right in. So let's chat about Claude Code, and if you're wondering why my background looks odd, I'm currently in London. We just had a great meetup with the community, and next up is La and Pill. Next, we have Japan. It would be awesome to see you there. So Clue Code Alright is like an F1 car. And when we switch the model from Claude to something else, we're basically just swapping the engine, but we still get all the benefits of the car, but we'll use a slightly different engine, which basically gives us the agentic coding frameworks from, we can get the agentic loop, code skills, and tons of other cool features. What about RAP do I need? You need a huge supercomputer for this, right? The answer is no. And the words of Drag, you don't need to have that to run this, since it'll run in the cloud. So what's the catch if it mentions group? Well, there are trade-offs I want to be totally straight with you about, just so you get what this really means. First off, there are 4 things. Number 1 is cost. So this basically means you can use it for free or very small cost, depending on the model we select. We have speed, performance, and security. So you can get some of them totally for free. But where does it rank in the other categories? I'm going to break it all down for you in this video, so you can make a smart and well-informed decision. And then what I'm also going to share, once we've gone through that, what I actually recommend for your particular use cases. Once I show you all the magic under the hood right now, so we can demonstrate exactly how to use Claude Code for free. We need to see how it works and get it configured. And to do that, we're going to use something called OpenRouter, which gives us access to so many different models, hundreds of different models, the best models on the planet, and even totally free ones. But before you do that, we need to know what kind of engine we're putting in our racing car. I've actually already given you get 5 core models to choose from, understand, and make an informed decision, because free is amazing. But sometimes using the free version can get you rate limited, which means you might have to wait a little longer. So you might choose to pay for something that costs only 1/100th of the price, but always works for you. So I'll walk you through what that looks like. So on the left-hand side here, let me shift this over a bit. Move to the left so you can get a good view. And of course, I'll get this all available for you down below in the description so you can grab it. And all you need to do to use this is a one-click copy, and then you're ready to rock. So let's check out what we've got here, and let me zoom out so you can see exactly what we're talking about. So we've got Sonic 4.6 or Opens 4.6, which is what I typically use, where the average blended cost per million tokens is $15. Gemini Flash is $1.50, putting you at roughly 10% of the cost. So that's awesome for value, since we've got Distro Small again, which is way cheaper, plus you have 2 different free options. And you can go through to understand the different pluses. And plus and minus things I thought would help you decide which model to use. Since everyone's tolerances will vary, I definitely suggest you do this when working on a client project. Use Claude Opus or Claude Sonnet if it's anyone else's data, so you can kind of make a judgment call on that. So let's take a look at the different models. So the trade-offs here from a cost perspective are that DeepSeek V3 is free. And obviously there are hundreds of models. I did a bit of research to see what 5 would actually be. Realistic choices just to make it a bit easier for you. But you can definitely swap these out for any other model on OpenRouter, which I'll show you in a moment. So the DeepSeek V3 Quen of the 3 deft rule is 20 cents, Gemini is $1.40, and Sonic 4.6 is $9. And Opus is $15 if we're looking at performance. So let's rank them out of 10. Obviously, Opus is the best, while Gemini is 8.5. So maybe you'd want like 85% of performance for a tenth of the cost. That could be a trade-off you. If you want to make it, performance naturally drops as you go down, so speed is really good. I listed that from the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, so you can get a good idea of what that looks like. Getting the knowledge to make a solid, informed choice for everything, and so whichever model you pick, it's exactly the same process. Because here's what I've done for you. If you just select this, it automatically changes the model for you. Or if you find one you like, you can go with that. I'll just do an example. Why don't we try Gemini? Flash costs about 10% of the price for 85% of the quality cool. Which means that if you're tackling a massive coding project and burning core tokens, but you can still pull it off and code for 10 times longer at the same price point. So I click on Gemini Flash. That's awesome. Let's come up here and pick that awesome thing. What we're going to do is hit copy. Now the first step is go to OpenRouter. And then once you're on OpenRouter, guys, I want you to scroll down here to APE. Keys over here, I want to make a brand new AP key. Now what's really important to keep in mind is you should get it if you can drop $10 so you don't hit rate limits even though it's a free model. The fact that you have 10 bucks will definitely make things way easier. So just throw in over 10 bucks basically. So we'll name this one something like Junior London, maybe Free Claude with a wonderful credit limit. Let's just set that at 15 bucks drop down. I tell you, dude, I get roasted for using American isms. Someone told me I do it a lot of American slang these days. Maybe I'm spending too much time with Americans. I'm not sure. There's a preset limit, but it's going to apply that on a monthly basis. That's okay. Expiration is fine. Click create, and then you're going to copy the AP key. So here you can see you'll basically be copying this text over, and we'll go ahead and head over to anti-gravity. I enjoy using anti-gravity because I can still chat with Gemini without it really messing things up or being modified by this model, which is super handy. So I hit copy and head over to anti-gravity. I'll head down here and click to open a brand new folder. And I've named this one Claude Code London. Hit create, and then we're in and ready to rock and roll as soon as we click on open. Awesome. So we're going to full screen theirs now. And over here, we've got the agent window in anti-gravity. And what I'm going to do is basically paste in that thing that I just copied from that website now. What's really cool. What I went through, I looked into the various pluses and minuses to build a step-by-step framework that should work for you on the first try. Shows every step. We want the model to take and exactly how that looks. So you can see we have our task class here, which is awesome. So getting the AP key from OpenRouter, which we're going to provide it, and then it'll just tweak the settings on the desktop. So we aren't actually sending the request to Anthropic, but instead to OpenRouter. And we can switch back at any time very easily by heading over to this website, and all you have to do is click code, and it basically sends you back to the normal step of clicking copy now. You might be able to go in and edit the config yourself, but I thought it'd be way simpler for you to just be able to copy and paste some info to switch it back. And once more, I'll walk you through exactly how that works too. Awesome. So now that's done. I literally did it from one prompt. And all we'll do is copy this now to test it. And we're going to open up a terminal. If you're wondering why the background something went so dark, I headed out for dinner, and folks, the sun sets pretty fast in London, I must admit. But once you get the instructions back from Claude and anti-gravity, we can come over and actually test it now with this change. So we're in over here. We just type in Claude, so we should be able to see what the module is. Let's just head down here and click, yep, we trust that folder, and check this out. Can you see now, Gemini 2.5 Pro preview cool. So how do we know that it's actually the thing? Well, I can say, hey there, what model is this? And so when it returns and confirms it's right, it'll come back and say something like the Gemini terminal is pontificating. And we'll see what it says. Cool, this is the Google Gemini 7.5 preview, awesome. So we're now talking with the Google Gemini model, which is great. So now let's head back and switch it to a slightly different model. So let's say we want to aim for something like a mix of different cassette free modules. How would we do that? Well, come back to the website, click on copy. Let's head over then to anti-gravity, and anti-gravity, we're going to come down and drop in the prompt here and just feed it the info, and it should now switch over to a totally different model for us to use. And then we can test together if it can use the Claude skill. So the concept is it can reach those things, all the Claude skills you already have, even if you don't have access. The Q code, for some reason, is showing up and asking us if we want to make the change. Model, I'm like, yep, go ahead and do that, please. And now that's done, everything's being transferred over and finish it up by simply copying that over. Then we just need to shut down and close the terminal and then reopen it once again to make it work. So let's go ahead and do that and close the terminal, then reopen it from the starters, which is awesome. Great, get this one over here. So we open a new terminal, or it'll hack you. By the way, if you press up, it will cycle through what your last command was when you hit up. Is it every time you run a command, it saves it, which just saves you a ton of time if I type /Claude, like when I say yes. You'll see now that I'm now on OpenRouter free. A quick cool thing about OpenRouter free is that this plan in OpenRouter will cycle through any of the free models. If you go with something like DeepSeek, sometimes you'll hit rate limits, or you'll have to wait forever before you can use it. I found that happening with Quan is a bit frustrating if you want to use a free model, so just let us know, and let's us do that. Now let me show you another really cool feature we can do here, and then we're going to use one of the skills to actually build something really cool. So if I jump back over to anti-gravity, cool to re-up anti-gravity. Here's what we're going to do next. Oh, and by the way, in case you didn't know, you can run Command and Elm, and that opens up a panel on the right side, and you can close it out pretty easily. So here's what we're going to do. Compare it to the terminal and click on New Terminal. And if we go up now, we should find Claude, which is great. And do we see the model there? We show a 3 flash preview of Gemini. So cool. What we want to do now is just look and utilize a skill within that. So if I hit /, obviously you can see all your skills. All your skills if you want to. I'm going to use the Bitly skill. So here's a Bitly skill. The Bitly skill is basically when I provide it with a URL and then it converts URL into a Bitly link, which is really cool, great. So and that's come down here, and so let's just go ahead and pick a random URL. So let's grab a Bitly link for, I don't know, let's do kaleido.com. All right, sweet. So we're going to send this one off, which is amazing. And so if this works properly with edml, but not Claude, we should see this back, which is fantastic. So one of the cool things is that if you run out of tokens, your skills now activate. Portable now, I love Opus 4.6. I do pretty much all my coding in Opus 4.6 since it's awesome, and just like that, I've updated the broken token and it's actually worked out now and made the built link for me, which is awesome. So if I click this, it should take me to Glixzydos. So I should go ahead and double check that it worked properly. again, we're happy to open it up. And there we are on glido.com, the tool I've been using to dictate this video, which is really cool. So this is great, but what if you want to switch back to Claude? So I opened up a new browser, by the way. It's just Command and L to open. And close this browser that's Claude, which is what I suggest you do if you're using a free model. Or a different model means you have one panel solely for controlling the model. Like, hey, am I talking to Claude? Am I talking to Gemini? Am I talking to free models? Then this, you can do all your coding. And hey, you can literally head down here, rename it, and call it something like skill a cool. Then this might be something like come down here, skill B. And so at the same time, you just keep adding these pluses and you get different instances of Claude code or whatever model you're using right now to get back. All we're going to do is enter the prompt from that. So I'm here, I've got the called reset thing, and this takes us right back to normal. I click on copy, we get our usual confetti ballet. The course is super important. We come back over, we just come over to Opus, and we come down and plug in this code, press enter, and it'll send everything back to Claude. And then all we need to do is shut it down, reopen it, and now we're back with Claude. As you can see, that's all done, guys. And this is the file that's editing the settings.json. By the way, you can also do this at the project level and also globally, meaning globally covers any terminal. And the project would just be the projects that are inside it. And you do that by accessing the settings on the side, or you can basically amend the global version. So now that's out of the way, we can pretty much shut this down, open it up, and then we're going back to working with Opus again. So let's just double check and I'll show you how that works. So now we're back with an anti-gravity. Let me drop down and mute this and let us get started. And start a fresh terminal to see how this looks. Then open a new terminal and head over to Claude, and we should see the model up as 4.6 appearing there, sign up 4.6 call. So I won't just say, hey there, which model is this? And we could come down and we'll make sure it's really our awesome Claude. And then you can go to /model and scroll down, pick whichever ones you want, and we're back rocking and rolling with Opus, which is wonderful. And then this brings us quite smoothly to what I personally suggest. So if you're able to, I recommend, and you can afford the Claude Max Plain, I get nothing from you buying the Claude Max Plat. I tell you like I would my own brother. Or for my son, right, the thing is the way that I see Claude, these subscriptions, if you at least the $20 one and certainly the $200 and, or I should say the other way around, is that I really don't think of it as a subscription fee for hiring a tiny digital worker. So if you compare like $200 against 20K or 50K pounds or 100,000 pounds, it's way cheaper. I'm pretty sure not everyone can do that. And that's why I made this video, to make it super accessible. So no matter your situation, you can use it. But I just think this is generally a good investment to actually, if you can get this level of access, since I treat them as AI workers, that's the reason I spend the money I do, and even hired a person by him. Just recently, we spent a couple $1,000, and in a few days, we had automated the whole thing. And I don't think that would have worked without us having access to the premier models. How fast it operated, its efficiency, and how it never fell for false economies, because E doesn't always. It ends up being cheaper since you invest your time fixing errors, so it's really helpful. Yeah, for sure. That's right. Because if you hit your limits, you go to code, or if you want to try different loops and stuff, it can be super helpful. Just make sure to always keep in mind the value and what's going to be best for your specific situation. So now that we've figured out exactly how to build Claude Code 4.3, the next step is to do this. Then actually put Claude Code to the test and build something that only just recently became possible. And that's a gorgeous, beautiful 3D website you can now build with Claude Code easier than ever before.